Headlines across the UK have been filled with speculation about Rachel Reeves' future. Political commentators, journalists, and insiders are openly questioning whether she will remain in post. Andrew Neil, one of the UK's most prominent political broadcasters, recently stated bluntly that Rachel Reeves won't long be with us as Chancellor.
My own view is that I don't think Rachel Reeves will ever recover from that first budget last October, and that she's now part of the Walking Dead. She'll probably deliver her second budget, and she won't be long with us after that.
That kind of prediction doesn't come lightly. It's a clear signal that confidence in Reeves' leadership and policies is beginning to waver. But why exactly is she under so much scrutiny? The answer lies in the economic fallout since her budget, and especially in the impact of tax rises. One of the most controversial elements of Reeves' budget was the increase in employer national insurance contributions, or NICs. The rate rose from 13.8% to 15%, and the threshold was lowered. At the time, the Office for Budget Responsibility predicted around 50,000 job losses as a result. That was seen as painful but manageable. Fast forward to today, and the reality looks far worse. According to UK Hospitality, the trade body representing one of Britain's largest industries, of the 164,641 job losses in the UK since the budget last October, almost 89,000 have been lost in hospitality. News analysis of job data by UK Hospitality reveals that hospitality has accounted for 53% of all job losses in the UK since the budget, confirming the sector is hardest hit by tax increases. The scale of job losses is 3 times worse than estimated by the Office for Budget Responsibility, which predicted 50,000 job losses as a direct result of changes to employer NICs. That's a staggering number. More than half of all job losses since the budget have come from hospitality alone. And it's not just about lost jobs. It's about entire communities that rely on pubs, restaurants, and hotels for work. UK Hospitality isn't staying quiet. In the same press release, they issued a direct plea to Rachel Reeves. We are calling for urgent action at the budget this autumn. The government needs to lower business rates, fix NICs, and cut VAT to stop hospitality businesses being taxed out and to reverse the damage done by increased taxes. That's a dramatic intervention. When a major industry body publicly calls out the Chancellor's policies, it highlights just how deep the satisfaction runs, and it adds fuel to the speculation that Reeves may not last long in her role. So why is this happening? The principle is simple. If you tax something, you usually get less of it. NICs are essentially a tax on jobs. By raising the rate and lowering the threshold, Reeves effectively increased the cost of employing people. For sectors like hospitality and retail, where profit margins are already razor thin, this change has hit especially hard. Economically, this reflects the principles of demand elasticity and tax incidence. Higher employer costs make hiring more expensive. Businesses respond by cutting staff, delaying expansion, or freezing recruitment. The result? Fewer transactions in the labour market, meaning fewer jobs. This isn't just theory. We can see it happening in real time. To understand this principle better, let's take another example. Stamp duty. Stamp duty is essentially a tax on moving house. And surprise, surprise, it reduces the number of people moving house. The Office for Budget Responsibility has studied this in detail. Back in 2014, when stamp duty rates were adjusted, the OBR found that every 1% increase in stamp duty knocked 7% off the number of housing transactions. Overall, stamp duty probably deters around 70,000 house sales a year. That's a massive effect, and it ripples through the economy, hitting estate agents, builders, decorators, and furniture shops. The same logic applies to NICs. When you tax jobs, you get fewer jobs. When you tax house moves, you get fewer house moves. Taxes shape behaviour. The problem for Rachel Reeves is that she now owns these numbers. The job losses are tied directly to her budget decisions. Every headline about rising unemployment, every business closure, every protest from the hospitality industry points the finger squarely at the Treasury. This is why political commentators are struggling to see how she can stay in the office. Take, for instance, this clip from Andrew Neil.
But more important for the hospitality industry, she lowered the threshold way down from where it was. And this caught a lot of part-time workers, quite low paid part-time workers in hospitality, and made it much more expensive to employ them. And so therefore the jobs have gone.
Reeves's credibility is being eroded. The opposition is hammering her, business are lobbying against her, and even within government there are rumblings of discontent. And during PMQs, one thing is certain: she won't get any slack from Kemi. If unemployment keeps rising, it could quickly become politically unstable for her to stay in post. So the question remains, will Rachel Reeves last as Chancellor? Only time will tell. But one thing is clear: her political fate is not hers alone. Rachel Reeves is intrinsically linked to Keir Starmer. In British politics, the fortunes of the Chancellor and Prime Minister are often bound together. Why? Because the economy is the defining issue of almost every government. When economic credibility collapses, it usually brings both the Chancellor and the Prime Minister crashing down with it. History gives us plenty of examples. Nigel Lawson's resignation in 1989 damaged Margaret Thatcher's authority so deeply that within a year she was forced from office. Sajid Javid's departure in 2020 didn't topple Boris Johnson immediately, but it was part of the chain reaction that eroded his control and credibility. The most dramatic case came in 2022, when Kwasi Kwarteng was sacked after the infamous mini-budget crisis. That decision sealed Liz Truss's fate. She followed him out of Downing Street just days later. There are exceptions. Dennis Healey survived as Chancellor under James Callaghan, but when Labour lost to the 1979 election, both were swept away together. The thread running through all of these stories is clear. The downfall of a Chancellor rarely leaves a Prime Minister untouched. It shakes the very foundations of government. That's why the speculation around Reeves is about more than just one person. It's about whether Starmer himself can survive if her position becomes untenable. Every job loss, every business closure, every headline about rising unemployment doesn't just hurt Reeves, it chips away at the credibility of number 10. If voters come to believe that this government can't manage the economy, the damage will be collective. If there is one lesson that history makes plain, it's this: the economy is almost always the number one concern of the electorate. In the 1970s, runaway inflation and mass unemployment dominated the national conversation. In the 1980s, it was the same story. Millions out of work under Thatcher's early years kept the economy at the top of voters' minds. In the 1990s, Black Wednesday and the fallout from the ERM crisis destroyed confidence in the Conservatives and handed Labour a landslide in 1997. Fast forward to the 2010s, and the aftermath of the 2008 crash meant the economy once again determined who held power and who lost it. Even Brexit, while framed as a constitutional issue, was largely fought on economic grounds: jobs, trade, and prosperity. Why does this pattern repeat? Because the economy touches every household. Rising bills, job security, mortgage rates, and wages are not abstract concepts. They are felt daily around the kitchen table. And this is why the stakes for Rachel Reeves, and by extension Keir Starmer, are so high. Economic credibility is not a side issue. It's the very foundation on which governments rise and fall. Voters may disagree on immigration, health, or education, but when pay packets shrink, jobs vanish, and bills climb, the economy instantly takes centre stage. History shows that no government survives long once the public loses faith in its ability to deliver prosperity and stability. The coming months will be crucial. If she can steady the ship, she might survive. If not, Andrew Neil's prediction may come true sooner rather than later. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to stay up to date with how these issues unfold, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.